Hello and welcome to the Raptors show on the Sportsnet Radio Network, brought to you by Campbell's new chunky, spicy soup. It's time to get fired up. Make sure you find the Raptors show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe and please rate and review the show. I'm your host, William Lou. I have co-host Blake Murphy to my left, and we have a lot of guests for you today. So first, me and Blake are going to give our All-Star reserve picks because those will be announced later tonight. Hopefully, we'll see if Scotty Barnes makes the list. We'll see if Scotty Barnes makes our teams as well. And then, segment 2, we are going to bring in Gerald Green. That's right. We're going to bring in Gerald Green. We're going to talk to him about the Houston Rockets, where he's one of their broadcasters. But also, I just wanted to nerd out and talk to Gerald Green about dunks. So, there's going to be a lot of just discussion about dunking with Gerald Green, one of the greatest dunkers. Then we're going to bring in Dennis Schröder and check in on the Raptors, check in on life on the road, et cetera, et cetera. Just see how Dennis is doing. And then segment 4, we're going to bring in Seerat Sohi of The Ringer, just to look around the rest of the league. But, Blake, how you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah. Yep. Clearly, I can't even remember to turn my microphone on.
This guy forgot to make his picks.
I didn't do my homework. I didn't make my All-Star picks. I forgot to turn my mic on. I wear permanent retainers and one of them broke today, so I have like a wire jabbing into my mouth right now.
Oh, really?
On top of which I've spent
is a Kanye West performance right here?
Yeah, through the wire, yeah.
Wow, okay.
On top of which I've spent my whole afternoon investigating the biggest scandal in Toronto sports history. It's that the Raptors 905 Lunar New Year jerseys over my left shoulder here were not available enough at the 905 game, and some say not available at all.
Walk me through this. What happened? I saw the tweet.
So Raptors 905 last night got absolutely destroyed. Not a competitive basketball game.
All right.
But it was the first of, I think, 2 nights where they'll wear the Lunar New Year jersey. That's really, really cool. We showed it on the show yesterday. It's got that dragon logo behind me. And the 905 that advertised, hey, come out to the game. This will be your chance to buy the jerseys. And nobody, at least the people who have mentioned it on, there's a Reddit thread, people were tweeting at me and DMing me like, hey, they weren't actually available. Now, some people got them, but it sounds like
they just didn't make enough.
They didn't make nearly enough, and relative to the demand. So there are people who are pretty upset that they went out to the game and did not get a jersey,
for sure,
which I completely understand. If it helps at all, probably doesn't. But the 905 told me earlier today, they are aware of this. They're aware of the disappointment. They're doing what they can to make sure that the people who didn't get one yesterday are able to purchase a jersey at some point. Now, I don't know what that looks like. I'll tweet details once we have them. But yeah, on one hand, this is like the most interest anyone's had in the 905 all year. But mostly, I think this speaks to they did a really, really good job with the jersey here and the kind of connection with CCYAA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So hopefully this gets resolved and people are able to get the jerseys who wanted them. That's all I got for you for right now, though.
Hey, people, how much do you want it? Because I do have that one available behind me. And if you throw me a bag, I might throw you a jersey. No, I'm kidding. Go make sure you purchase it through the legitimate means. That's too bad to hear, man. But I guess on the other hand, it does suggest that like there was a lot of interest in this, which is cool.
Yeah. I just wish. I don't know. I wish people had been able to get them. I don't have the one thing I will say is that and I get that people are like frustrated and I find 100%, this stuff,
I'm not trying to make a joke about this.
I find this stuff like a little amusing. Like there are a lot of like not a lot, but there is a working theory that like it was like a bit of a scam to like get people out to the game. But let me tell you,
come on,
I
guys.
promise you,
not everything's a conspiracy, please.
I promise you that MLSE wanted your money. If you were willing to go out there and buy a jersey, they were willing to take your money. It's this is maybe something where they tripped up, but it was not a scam to get you in the arena and take less of your money. They will take all of the money that you're willing to give them.
No, the scam was the performance. They lost by 30.
Dude, it was I will say last night not the most note heavy viewing of a 905 game for me ever. I pretty much mentally checked out of that one in like the second quarter.
That was a tough one. A tough one.
And neither Javon or Kyra looked very good. So that's always tough too when that is going on top of everything.
Turn a blind eye to it. It's fine. It didn't even happen. Yeah, I just wanted to shout out Pei Ying Chung again for designing the jersey. Great job with the design. Okay, so as promised, we are going to make our all-star reserve picks. So the starters have already been announced in the Eastern Conference. The 5 are going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, and Damian Lillard. In the West, it will be LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That leaves 7 spots each for each conference, 2 guard, 3 forward, and then 2 wild card, making up those 7. And yeah, we have made our picks. And let's start in the Eastern Conference. I'll just give you my ballot from top to bottom. And you asked me about the names that stand out to you.
I've got mine ready to go, by the way.
Okay, nice. Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
It's clear cut. He needs to make it. Jalen Brunson, same deal. Clear cut, needs to make it.
I think those 2 guys are, like, obviously Dame's the starter, but those 2 guys are, like, they have an even better case than Dame. Like, those guys are locks to me.
Yeah. Those are the 2 for me. It's like, who is the best guard in the East this year in terms of how well they have played? Those 2 are the ones for me. On the forwards, this is where I got a little controversial, and I think that there would be room for discussion. I have Julius Randle from the Knicks. I feel like Julius has played really well for the Knicks. The Knicks have played really well in general. And even though I don't really personally like his game, you got to respect the fact that he's really contributing to winning. Kristaps Porzingis was the forward I went with. I kind of chose him over Jaylen Brown, which is a bit controversial considering that Jaylen Brown's played more games. However, I think Kristaps has unlocked this new level for the Celtics. I like the way he's been able to attack mismatches. He's also stretched the floor in an incredible way for them and has just been really efficient overall, really good on defense. Kristaps makes it for me. My other forward, I'm going to go with Scotty Barnes for the Raptors. 2-way impact. Unfortunately, he's tailed off a little bit in the last month or so, so we'll see if he ultimately makes this list, which will be decided by assistant coaches or head coaches. Sorry, my bad. And then
no, you had it right. It's just not what they want you to think.
Yeah, that's right. That's the real conspiracy. Like, not 905 jerseys.
Yeah, the real answer here is like JR did your All-Star reserve ballot because you didn't have the time to do it, and I got Ahmed to do mine.
I wish. I'm in office way more than JR is. Yeah. And then Tyrese Maxey and Paolo Banchero made it as my 2 wild cards. So yeah, what's your list? And let's maybe compare and contrast.
Okay, so I have Julius Randle as well. The other thing I like about including Julius Randle is like I get to have, basically I'm buying an extra spot on my roster here because I'm going to name Julius Randle's injury replacement at the end of this as well.
Okay, I like that.
So I'm stealing a spot, but Randle deserves to be in there anyway. We've talked a ton about the Knicks this week, and like that all runs through Randle and Brunson and Josh Hart being the greatest teammate ever just by constantly talking smack about his buddies.
I like that.
Shocking that they built their way to good culture was like players who like each other.
Again, this is why I think they're like a 2016 Raptors regen. They even have the locker room banter and the antics. Remember when we had locker room banter? Remember when we were allowed to go to the locker room too, by the way? That's a separate thing. But,
yeah.
Anyway.
So I didn't go as Celtics heavy as you because I'm not a big Celtics fan like you.
Well, I had one. I just had Kristaps.
Oh, okay.
I had him over Jaylen Brown.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay, it's right in front of me here.
No, it's all good.
So I went with Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
Over Kristaps. The Kristaps missed time was the hair splitter for me.
Yeah.
He's only played 34 games.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that was the difference there. And then I do have Scotty on my ballot, but I have him in a wild card spot. So basically that's the same thing as having him. Paolo is my other forward who you have in a wild card spot. So we agree. Yes. We just structured it a little differently there. And then I assume we have the same second wild card in Tyrese Maxey as the extra card.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Maxey was an easy call for me here.
So we have the same team other than I have Brown, you have Porzingis.
Yeah, look, listen, I hear that. It's a good case. Jaylen Brown, I think, to me, is definitely the number 2 item on like a scouting report if you were to go up against the Celtics. I just think Porzingis has unlocked a new level for them. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, for sure it's easier for him too.
Jalen's played 50% more minutes is what it came down to.
Yeah, that's a good argument. But okay, just quality of player wise, when they're both in the game, who contributes more towards Celtics winning?
Yeah, Porzingis right now. I mean, like, and some of this is just like, what did the Celtics need relative to what they had? Like, like maybe if they didn't have Jalen and you drop Jalen on, it looks the same. But like, yeah, Porzingis is what makes that starting 5 so scary.
Yeah, right, for sure.
You know what the actual answer here though was
Don't say Derek White.
What we should have done is, we can't decide between Brown and Porzingis. Let's just leave a second Celtic off altogether and go with someone else.
There's a real chance both of them make it just based on the injury replacements.
And Derek White and all that other stuff.
No, man. What's Derek White going to do at the All-Star game?
Yeah.
Put up a good EPM? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to see that.
So speaking of that, though, my injury replacement for Julius Randle is a boring one, but it's Jared Allen.
I like that. He was on my list of guys I'm kind of snubbing. But take me through the Jared Allen case.
I mean,
it's
15, 10, and 3, 65% from the field. That Cleveland team has not only beaten my expectations for them this year, and I was pretty high on them. I thought they'd be really, really solid, but they've been a really, really good defense, which we know is based on Jared Allen because Evan Mobley's missed a bunch of time this year.
Yeah.
And like Donovan Mitchell is getting a ton of credit on the offensive side, as he absolutely should, because that offense has kept humming without Darius Garland. The defense keeping humming without Evan Mobley is because of how good Jared Allen's been. And I realize that a 15, 10, and 3 guy who, is not flashy, is not anyone's idea of like who should be in the All-Star game. But this Cavs team is like they are right there with Milwaukee and New York as the second best team in the Eastern Conference. And they've done it with maybe the worst injury luck outside of Memphis in the early part of this season. So like they've missed Garland and Mobley, 2 of their starting 5 for like huge chunks of the season.
They finally got back in yesterday, or at least they finally got Garland back yesterday. Yeah. He played well.
And,
it was the Pistons, but whatever.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, are the Cavs scary in a second round playoff series? Probably not yet, unless Mitchell's like fully this guy in the playoffs still.
Sure, yeah.
But they've been one of the best regular season teams, and I think Jared Allen's been like clearly their second best player. So when it comes to rewarding a third Celtic or the best player on a bad team like a Trae Young type, I went toward Jared Allen. It's boring, but I think he did. I think that's
a good call.
He's earned it. Yeah,
I think he's a good call. Like again, for all the reasons that you mentioned. Some other snubs that I had on my list. So
who are you picking as your Randle replacement? Because I'll give you one. Like you could just name someone.
I'll probably go with Jaylen Brown.
Celtic.
No, I think honestly the Celtics having 3 players in the game, like it's deserving. It's
they're way better than every other team in the East.
Exactly. The other snubs I had, were like Jimmy Butler, which is mostly the heater sliding. He's also missed a bunch of the time. He is still like really efficient across the board, but he doesn't even shoot that much. A lot of games I feel like I want him to sort of take over. Jared Allen was on my snubs list. And then I had Mikal Bridges and DeMar DeRozan. And my reasoning for those are just
probably in the group with those guys too.
Pascal as well. Yeah, I think for me, those are just like guys who are like pretty good. If they made it to All-Star game, I'm not mad. It's just like, it's not really moving the needle for me in a way. Like they were all kind of like the leading scorers for below 500 teams in that sort of mid-tier. Trae Young obviously was another snub on this one. That Trae Young one's interesting because he is averaging 27 and 10.
Yep.
And he's, I don't know, he didn't really come that close to the All-Star game for me. I mean, maybe it's because I've been really annoyed with him since the Raptors lost that game to Atlanta, but is how much of, is that like, are we being unfair? Is that unreasonable?
I think there's we are applying a bit of a, not to like call Homer on ourselves, but like, Scotty Barnes is the best player on an even worse team. And we have Scotty Barnes on our reserve list. Now, Scotty Barnes is an infinitely better defensive player than Trae Young, but he doesn't have the offensive impact that Trae Young has. So I think there's probably a little bit of a double standard we're applying here, but also it's hard to just pick 12 guys. So you got to draw the lines where you got to draw them.
If either of us didn't have Scotty Barnes on our All-Star list, we would be on a Raptors Twitter hit list.
Yeah.
So that's another big factor.
That'd be the new Reddit conspiracy thread.
Yeah. By the way, my bad. Trae Young's averaging 27 and 11 assists.
Oh.
Yeah. But how many times does he jump into your elbow as he runs through the lane?
Yeah. What did you call him, a weasel the other day?
He is a weasel. Don't like the way he plays hoop, so you're not getting him an All-Star game. Okay, so we had a lot of overlap in the East.
Yeah, all but one spot. And I actually kind of think that that's going to be the case in the West, because to me, when I sat down to do the West, 6 of the spots were like, no question.
It's so hard in the Western Conference. So let's get there. So my West reserves. First off, Steph Curry as a West reserve is just hilarious. Okay, but
Darko wanted Steph Curry off the bench. Western Conference All-Stars have Steph Curry off the bench.
Yeah, they really got Steph off the bench. That's crazy. Devin Booker, and that one's easy for me too as well. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Anthony Davis are my 3 forwards on this one. And then wild cards, I had Anthony Edwards and Lauri Markkanen.
Oh, we have the exact same ballot.
The exact same ballot?
So
okay.
I thought everyone except for Lauri there was a lock. Like I couldn't make I couldn't make a better case. Like I have a long list of snubs because the West is so good.
Yeah.
But no one was touching Anthony Davis, Paul George, Anthony Edwards as like the last couple guys in. It's just too hard. So Laurie is where it got open to debate. And I don't know, part of me feels weird not going with a Kings player there, given that they're way higher in the standings. And like De'Aaron Fox has had
an amazing season.
Yeah.
But Fox was the biggest nut for me. I agree. I part of my argument there is I just feel like the whole season I've watched a bunch of Kings game and I'm like, this is a fake good team.
Yeah. They're 8 games over 500 and have barely outscored their opponents.
Yeah. I don't know. But I mean, to the case for Fox, he's averaging 27, 4 rebounds and 5.5 assists. He's shooting efficiently across the board as well.
So to your point on Tuesday's show about how 25 points per game needs to be the new 20 points per game. Imagine a couple years ago, a guy averaging those numbers and not being on your All-Star list. But now everyone is averaging 20 points a game. So we have to readjust. Like, again, 54 guys are averaging 20 points a game. So what's the math on that? How many All-Stars are there? 26? So minimum 28 guys who are averaging a 20 piece are not going to be on the All-Star team.
Yeah, listen, man. The thing about the old days are the old days. You used to get a McChicken or junior chicken and a McDouble for $5.
Yeah, but the McRib's back now, so maybe we're.
I still think that's inflation proof.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. So my biggest surprise on your ballot. Kind of thought you'd go with Alperen Sengun in that last spot.
This is my exact process, right? So I put the list together, and then I realized I had one more wild card, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to put my guy, Alperen Sengun, in this list. I've really enjoyed watching him. He's definitely one of the 12 players I've enjoyed watching the most in the Western Conference. I'm going to put him on my list. And then I looked at it, and again, and I was like, I don't have Anthony Davis on my list. So there's no way he's getting it over AD.
That is a good idea for a segment another time, though. We just, like, toward the end of the season, do our who did we enjoy watching the most this year All-Stars.
I like that. Yeah.
Kind of like a blend of league pass rankings and the, like, Luke Walton and All-Stars. And, yes, my Chris Dunn All-Stars.
No, you being a Chris Dunn stan is hilarious. But, I had to cut him, man. There's no way he was over Anthony Davis. I think Markkanen probably was the one that he probably would compete a little bit with. But I think Markkanen, I don't know, man. He's just so efficient as a big man, like in a way, like it's like KD-esque in a way. Like he doesn't create off the dribble nearly as much. He's not shooting 54 off hang pulls. That's OD. Like it's not like that. But he is incredibly efficient for a big, and he's been able to be really productive this season. Kyrie's off the list. He missed a lot of games. Let's just
and Dallas isn't that good.
Dallas, yeah. Jamal Murray not on this list, mostly because he doesn't play well against poor teams. He just only balls out against like really good teams. But Jamal Murray, is he ever going to make an All-Star?
Yeah.
What's the competition in the West is really difficult. Like this is a year where Ja wasn't even healthy.
Yeah, I still think he'll make one.
Wow.
The hardest part for me on my ballot was not having a second Thunder player.
That part too, but I don't know. Would you feel right putting Chet or Jalen Williams on
not
this
over
list
the
yet?
names we're talking about? That's the hard part. Like they're not. I think it's 1 year too soon. But like, would it surprise you if the Thunder have 3 All-Stars next year? Probably still a little bit in the West because it's so loaded. But
it's funny because this version of the Thunder, I guess it gets compared to like the previous like KD, Westbrook, Harden type of Thunder team, and like I think my prevailing thought with those teams was always like, those guys had to do everything because there was always like 2 guys on the floor who did nothing. Like Atabo Cephalosha would be on the floor, Royal Ivy be on the floor. You know what I mean? Derek Fisher would be on the floor, Kendrick Perkins would be like those guys weren't really scoring, so those guys would always have to do all the scoring.
Yeah.
This Thunder team, like they have a lot better balance, and so like you're not gonna put up maybe the volume of stats you would need to see. You know what I mean? Like we're talking so much about the inflation of scoring in the league, like I mean, you can't put 2 guys on this list that aren't averaging at least 20.
Yeah, Jalen's averaging 19 and Chet's averaging 17. And I know I made the Jared Allen exception as an injury replacement in a thinner Eastern Conference.
Pool is also much lower.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie. A lot of these reserves are easily making the All-Star team on the other conference.
Yeah, this is the thing is like, is De'Aaron Fox bumping... I don't know. Who did I put in my last? Like, is he bumping Jaylen Brown off my East ballot, or is he bumping? Probably maybe not Maxey, but like, is he bumping Scotty? Like, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Probably a bunch of these guys are bumping guys off, and like we also didn't even like neither of us even mentioned a second player on the best team in the Western Conference, Minnesota Timberwolves. Like Towns and Gobert didn't even get a mention from us.
I don't want to see them. That's another part of me just hating,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily want to see them in that game. But I totally agree with you on that front. Wemby though, would have loved to see Wemby in the All-Star game.
I still think they should go Wemby
It's
and
like a
Chet
cheat code,
one-on-one
man.
as
Yeah.
a part of Saturday
So
night.
it'll be
or something.
Sabrina versus Steph from the 3-point contest, and then what do you want to see them do? You want to see them do the skills challenge or something?
No,
That's
I just want to see them like play one-on-one.
Wemby's gonna destroy him.
Let's see it.
All right.
I have a follow-up question for you.
Okay, go
so
ahead.
we both have Scotty Barnes on our reserve list here. Neither of us seems to really think he's actually going to make it because of the way.
I mean, he's like right there on the bubble.
Yeah,
Right there on the
okay,
bubble.
I will say I don't think he's going to make it. Just given the way
All right.
coaches vote historically, we'll find out tonight. By the way,
News accounts come after Blake Murphy at Blake Murphy ODC.
he is on my ballot.
But you don't think you'll make it?
Yeah, because of how coaches have voted historically, which is heavily weighted toward veteran players and who's doing what in the standings. So my question that flows from this, though, is like, whether Scotty makes it or not, is there anyone else on this roster who you think could be an all-star one day?
Raptor wise.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this too. And okay, if you want to be super optimistic about it, you might say, well, RJ is really taking his game, to a more efficient place. Can he add other elements to his game? Like there's going to be like 2-3 things he needs to add more to his game to get into an all-star conversation. But the Raptors would also need to be a winning franchise, like easily top 4 kind of deal. But I think those two things go hand in hand. So there's a slight chance for RJ. Let me put that at like 20%, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, it's just really difficult for, like, the standard for guards is like absurdly high. Like, look at the guards that we had. Like, let's put aside the guys who are actually starting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, like, Mitchell, like Brunson, Maxey, like it's not easy to make it. Like Trey's not on this list, Kyrie's not on this list, Jaws, not in this season, but he would obviously normally be on this list. De'Aaron Fox didn't make this list, like, and those are guys that, like, quickly needs to make 2-3 jumps to even get to that level. Like I think quickly, that's the thing. Like I think for guards is just it's really really difficult. He would need to become really efficient in the paint. And I think from a distribution standpoint, I think he's actually improved based on what he was billed as coming in from New York, because he was mostly a scorer coming in from New York. He's done a better job of running the offense in general. But I also do feel like at times he's not able to get his own shot in the way that you need from all these electric guards. Like, again, when you look through this list of players who had just made our reserves, not even the starters, just the reserves, like they can all get their own shot over and over and over again in a variety of ways. And so there's going to need to be more development on that front. I'd probably put it a little bit lower just because the bar is so high. Probably like 15%. What about you? Am I underselling it?
I think I'm a little more optimistic on, Quickly's path to that, because I think from a skill set standpoint, we can point to things that he absolutely needs to get better at. And if he gets better at those things, the type of player he becomes changes. Like a guy who is going to be able to create his own three at volume is just like the chance is there.
Yeah.
So he has to become a much better finisher. He has to use that in between range a lot better. He has a long, like he's further.
We didn't even talk about defense.
He is further away from being an all-star than say an RJ Barrett, who I think, he'd have to be on a really good team to get that nod as an all-star.
Yeah, he would.
But so I think RJ is closer right this second, but I think Quickly's path to becoming that type of player, while not a certainty, this is part of why I liked him as a trade target for the Raptors, is like I think there is an outcome where he ends up that level of guy. It's not the highest, it's not the likeliest outcome, but given what he already does well and where you see the room for improvement, I could see him getting there. He's pretty dynamic on the ball. It's just like it's so, we're 4 years in and like there's still not a lot of rim presence, so it's hard to project him forward.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for that role to scale unless he just becomes like a crazy shooter if he's not going to learn how to get to the rim a little bit.
Well, that's the thing too. Like the self-created threes, we haven't seen as much of that in Toronto, but I think that that's definitely a path for him to get more and more production from. The finishing around the basket, I mean, I think really is just I was listening to the discussion that you guys had on Monday about it, and yeah, I do agree that like I think there are going to be times where Quickly needs to take more dribbles, maybe go through the lane. Typically, he's taking 1 or 2 dribbles max, and then going out for like runners and floaters. And you might say that like, okay, like you didn't have like a big, for example, to screen for him or whatever, and that might affect it to some degree. But when we're talking about the standard of an all-star, like I'm sorry, but Jakob Poeltl not being available is not,
Yeah.
a caveat for any of this. Like Mitchell can get his shot whenever he wants. Brunson can get his shot one-on-one whenever he wants.
Yep.
Maxey, I guess he's always only played with Embiid, so that is a huge help. But come on, we can definitely tell how like dangerous he is as a scorer. Steph, guys like that, Shea, like it's. Yeah, I mean, you gotta have no excuses. Like you need to be a walking bucket at all times.
Yep.
To make it on all-star level. So I mean, listen, the guards are it's harder to make it as a guard, man.
This is why we're talking about low percentages. We're arguing, is it 15%, is it 25%, that kind of thing.
Does that mean that we need to add more talent then? I mean, just in general, of course,
Raptors?
The answer is always yes, right?
Yes.
But do we need to add more core talent? Like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like I don't think you could talk about this team like future-wise as if it's Scotty, RJ, and Quickly, and like that's going to be enough.
So then how do you get that extra core piece?
I mean, draft, trade, free agency. I don't know, man. There's not an easy path to it. This is part of why, it's part of what we talk about in this teardown, and with the patience that's going to be required is that, their path right now, if this is the group, and the next draft pick you use, maybe that's your number 4 guy or something like that. It requires Scotty to take a jump to like an unquestioned, you are an all-star and an all-NBA level guy. And that's in the range of possibilities for Scotty Barnes, but it's not 100% certainty. And in the interim, you have to be turning over every stone you can to I think this is part of why, even if people are not enamored with getting more draft picks for the future, those are things you can turn around and trade later, because you're not signing a free agent that is a part of a young core, and if you do, you're not signing them to a good value contract. You're paying every dollar because you're not a winning situation and stuff. You're certainly not finding those guys with a mid-level exception. Maybe you hit on more guys later in the draft, but those guys, even the guys you do hit on later, like OG is an exception, but most of them take a little bit to become who they become. Emmanuel Quickley's in his 4th year. Tyrese Maxey's in his 4th year. Even Pascal, he got dropped in as a starter right away, but it was really year 3 where he really started taking off. So those things take some time. Related to Emmanuel Quickley.
Okay.
It's time now for the spicy stat of the day, brought to you by new Chunky Spicy Soup. Are you ready to get fired up? You're probably ready to get fired up tomorrow, because Emmanuel Quickley and Jakob Poeltl both practiced today in full.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
So that's a nice thing. RJ Barrett did not. I will turn this to Jakob Poeltl, not Emmanuel Quickley. They both practiced in full, but the spicy stat of the day is that, Jakob Poeltl has a -1 net rating. That's not all that great. It's 5th on the team among the guys who are still there. Although funny enough, it's behind Otto, Chris, Dennis, and Thad. So it's only the old. Sorry, my retainer being broken is bothering me a lot.
Wow.
So it's only the old guys who are contributing from a net rating perspective. But within that -1 net rating, first of all, if you look at everyone's individual on-off splits, Jakob Poeltl's basically helping everyone in terms of their defensive rating and usually net rating, with and without Jakob. He has had, and here's the spicy stat, an 85th percentile on-off impact on the defensive end. So 85th percentile among all bigs in terms of how much you impact defense, including a 97th percentile impact on the team's defensive rebounding and a 99th percentile impact on the team's on opponent's free throw rate against you. So the Raptors just hack when Jakob's not on the floor because they don't have a center. The only other players in basketball to have those same thresholds in terms of impact on defense are Jokic, Miles Turner, Yusuf Nurkic, and Joel Embiid.
That's pretty spicy. I think, first off, I know Masai's looking around being like, look around you. This doesn't exist before I was here.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Masai's I said top 10 center, and here are the numbers to prove it. No, but I think it's good that you're illustrating some of those things, because I think at the start of the season, even though he was shooting on a really high percentage, I think our focus was so much, why are the Raptors so bad offensively? This is you kept bringing up the stat, which was even spicier then. That was the Idris Elba meme at that point of just oh my God, we're the process Sixers level of bad offensively.
Yeah.
And we were looking at ways to improve offensively, and we're like, well, Jakob's kind of in the way a lot of times, blah, blah, blah. Does he fit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lost in all that is just, the absolute impact he has on the defensive end. And maybe it's not as prominent because he's not stuffing guys or, switching out one-on-one on the perimeter against guards like a Bam, for example. But it's great that you mentioned that. And I think that the Raptors have clearly seen how much they missed Jakob without him in the lineup. They're 2-9 now after the win against Chicago. But yeah, I mean, Thad is doing his best. Jontay has been introduced, and he's doing his best to some degree. I hope he's able to stay healthy, but there's no replacements for Jakob Poeltl on this roster, and when he's in the game, he actually is making a difference on defense. And I guess my hope is just like, look, the Raptors are improved offensively, at least ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say we did lose Pascal, but like they are, at least over the course of the season, their overall rolling averages offensively have gone up.
Yep.
Hopefully, if Jakob comes back in, the defense has improved and they perform a little bit better. But
that was the spicy side of the day, brought to you by new chunky spicy soup. We had to take a break. We got Gerald Green on the other side. We're going to talk dunks. I guess we'll talk about the Houston Rockets or whatever, but we're going to talk about dunks.
We're going to talk dunks and threes, and there's not going to be no EPM. All right, I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network, brought to you by Campbell's new chunky spicy soup. Welcome back to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wayne Blue. Blake Murphy. How you doing, man? You okay?
Yeah, I got a dentist appointment. We're good.
You got a dentist appointment? We're good. We are working to get Gerald Green on the line.
You were going to say we're working to get Blake's retainer fixed.
We are also working to get Blake's retainer fixed. That'll be sometime tomorrow, hopefully.
The nerdiest I ever feel is having to talk about my retainer. Oh, my glasses.
Wow.
Okay.
Sore spot.
Before we get Gerald Green,
yeah, what's up?
Because we're waiting for him to call in.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Rockets. Raptors playing the Rockets tomorrow.
Yeah, Rockets having a pretty good time right now. They're good. We're gonna talk more about that Fred Şengün combination that we kind of hit on last week a little bit. Although they got beat pretty good last night by the Pelicans there. But you, in preparation for this interview, you're going over some Gerald Green clips, and we'll ask him about some of those dunks. But what was coming up for you when you were digging in the Gerald Green archives?
All right, so first of all, been doing the Raptors Show now for 3 years. We before that was interviewing players at Yahoo sometimes, and then just as you would when you're in the building, you talk to some players, you do some interviews, et cetera, right? I realized I never asked players about dunks. I don't know why. Like I'm never
point guards and shooting specialists only for you.
I feel like I've always talked to like below the rim type of players. Like, what if I asked Thad Young about his favorite dunks, or like, I mean, I guess when he was younger, he was dunking on guys, but like, no, I just never asked players about like the craft of dunking, what read you make when you're dunking. So
you can ask Kyle and Fred about dunking.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm like, Utah, what are your favorite dunks? He's like, oh, when Anthony Edwards posted me. Like, like it's just tough. It's been tough. So, I came to the realization though that even after covering basketball for so long, there's like lots of new things to ask people about. So
yeah, there's always and like everyone's gonna bring a different perspective to it. And like, look, I'm a big dunk contest guy. So the fact that we got Gerald Green coming on is pretty cool.
We were looking at it because Gerald Green was obviously in the dunk contest 2007 when he won it, and then 2008 when he defended the title but lost to Dwight Howard. And I don't know if it's just a nostalgia, but like looking at the dunk contest in that era, even though it wasn't like peak dunk contest or anything like that, it was just such a vibe, such an event. Like it was unbelievable to see just like the random cameos you'd see. Like you're like, oh, like here's rookie Kyle Lowry wearing number 3 for Memphis, and he's there to assist Rudy Gay, who was one of the dunk contestants. Jamario Moon as a Raptor, number 33, was one of the contestants that Gerald Green went up against. And then the camera pan over, and it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's there. It's like, what?
Yeah. You know the Jamario Moon story, allegedly, right? About that dunk contest?
What's the, wait, no, I don't. No, what's the story?
Okay, I don't know if I'm. It's been almost 20 years. I feel like I'm allowed to reveal this, but what I have been told over the years. So this was the year where Dwight Howard lost, right? And the next year was when it's like, okay, prop time. Like Dwight Howard's going to start doing some nonsense. In 2007, apparently, Jamario Moon wanted to be the first prop guy, and he wanted to jump over like an inflated moon.
What is it? Hold on. What is it? An inflated moon?
I don't know.
Just a beach ball? Like,
I guess, like just craters? Like a giant beach ball. But this was like, and who knows? Maybe this is just like one of those, like, not even conspiracy theories, just like one of those like stories that has been passed around the Raptors media over the years. But allegedly, Jamario Moon wanted to jump over something that looked like a moon, and was told no. And then very shortly after, the NBA ushered in that weird era of like every dunk contest is nothing but props.
Yeah, I think I think You know what? Props is also interesting because at certain moments, the prop looks really cool. Like, I think, for example, Gerald Green, we're not asking about the cupcake dunk. That was really cool. Like, I know it didn't get a great score at that time, but when you look back on it, especially the replay, it looks amazing. When JaVale McGee brought out that second hoop and he dunked both, that was like a superhuman feat. Like, genuinely, when have you ever seen anything like that?
I did a huge feature on, or not a huge feature, but a pretty big feature a couple years ago on that dunk contest.
Okay.
Because that was the one that Blake Griffin stole from everyone because of the Kia thing. JaVale had one of the best dunk contest performances imaginable. DeMar had a really good showing.
What else did he do in that one, JaVale?
I think he did a 12-foot one. He dunked on a 12-foot net.
Yes.
Or that's what he planned to do. And then he felt like it didn't look good enough. So then he did the two arm. And like
the two is sick.
It's crazy because the backboard is 6 feet wide.
Yeah.
So like think of how far apart you have to. It's crazy.
I hope he got a 50 for that. He should get 250. That should be 100.
Yeah. So I talked to a lot of people for this story, including, and the part of my reason for wanting to do the story is DeMar and Serge were both in that.
Yes, that's right.
Serge with the little bear on the rim that he has to rescue for the kid.
Serge did a whole thing where it was like, all right, let's. It was a whole narrative behind the dunk, Like there was a child. He's like, oh, someone's got to help me. My teddy bear's in the rim. He's like, yeah, and then he goes to get it.
Oops! I just started playing the audio. You can hear the announcers going.
He also did a really good, perfectly feet behind the line free throw line dunk.
Yeah,
which I feel like doesn't happen as much for bigs. Like we've seen the free throw line dunk so many times now. But yeah, I mean, Serge is like fully 6'10", 6'11" doing that. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. The other one JaVale did was he ran baseline with two balls, and then got the third alley-oop to him.
Yes.
And so it didn't look very good. It took him a couple tries, and like he just couldn't get it. But in theory, I'm carrying two balls, 1, 2, and then someone oops me a third.
Yeah.
Like how long you have to stay up for that is crazy.
No, JaVale had some real creativity with those. And then, of course, DeMar had the East Bay Funk, which was just – I praised DeMar because he never really did any props at all, I think, with his dunks, right? He just came in with straight dunks, and they were sick.
Which is the most DeMar thing ever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, everyone's going to props? No, thanks. I'll just do right. Everyone's going to threes? I'll stick to the mid-range.
Yeah.
It's also funny, like, DeMar's so young in that. But to do this story, the other thing was, like, Amir throws DeMar the lob in his, but isn't a very good passer. And Sonny Weems is sitting right there.
Right.
It's like, maybe you should have got the guard to throw the pass.
That was the original BBQ, man.
Okay, so this is a quote from the story, by the way.
Other BBQs, to be clear, were much better than those three. Sorry. No offense to those guys.
Quote from this story.
Yeah.
Man, Amir was the last person I would want throwing me a lob. Quote from Ed Davis, a teammate at this time. So I talked to those guys. I talked to so all the guys involved with it. I talked to Bebe, JaVale McGee. I talked to Larry Nance Jr., who wasn't in it but was about to be in the dunk contest, and obviously his dad has been in the dunk contest over the years.
I think Pete Nance is going to be in the dunk contest. His brother now with the Cavs.
Yeah, on a 10-day. By the way,
know.
I also got this great exchange from the Raptors locker room. And sorry, we're kind of just like, we don't have Gerald Green yet, so we're just going to remember some dunk stuff.
Yeah.
And CJ Miles, so I'm asking Serge Ibaka and DeMar about this, and CJ Miles chips in. He's like, Serge did that weak-ass dunk. He pulled the bear with his teeth. Whose idea was that?
I forgot.
Whose idea was that?
You know what? I think our lesson here from both Gerald Green's experience and Serge Ibaka's experience, it doesn't hit the same when you're doing dunk props with your teeth, with your mouth. Like, it's just not the same.
JaVale alleges that Serge stole that idea from him.
What?
Yeah, and then
JaVale, what were you cooking that week, man? You were really gonna do all that? Like, you're gonna dunk 3 balls, 2 balls, and then you're gonna eat a teddy bear in midair?
And then DeMar's chip in. It was terrible. It was terrible then. It's terrible now about Serge's dunk.
No, but honestly, that was a really good dunk contest, and of course, everyone does always remember the Blake Griffin. And like, look, listen, Blake was like super anticipated. It was one of those dunk contests where like the guy goes in it, and everyone is expecting that guy to win it. Because Blake's in-game dunks were just absurd when he was young as a Clipper, right? When he first started his career, but I mean, when he pulled out the car, when Kenny was like, like Baron Davis threw him to the sunroof. My issue with that one is he just didn't jump over the car; he jumped across the hood.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not expecting
in a cop, like a guy in a police show.
Yeah.
Where you just like slide across the hood to get into the driver's side.
That's basically what happened. There was also a choir element that came with it. It was just like, just too much of it took away from the dunk, which was objectively not that good of a dunk, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to the dunk contest. Who's in the dunk contest again this year?
Mac McClung, baby.
Who else is in the dunk contest?
I think Jaime Jaquez Jr. is the only other announced name, if I'm remembering correctly.
I've seen his high school tape.
Okay.
Jaquez did a dunk contest. I think even against like KJ Martin as well. So like not exactly like an easy dunk contest field, but he got a couple ones. I guess, you know, that's the thing with like when you have these guys who aren't like marquee players, is like you haven't actually seen them like dunk before, so there's very little anticipation you can put into it. You know, even Mac McClung, since the dunk contest, how many dunks have we seen from Mac McClung, the average person?
Are you on the G League YouTube page?
Am I on the G League?
Because if not,
page?
0 is the answer.
Yeah, and exactly. So 0 is my answer as well. But yeah, I don't know.
The only other dunk contest thing I can find is that Cam Whitmore declined an invitation.
By the way, speaking of the Rockets and Cam Whitmore, man, he is playing really well, and he's getting after it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like if he was on the Raptors, Patrick Beverley would be saying that the Raptors got some dogs, because Cam Whitmore is a dog.
It's a tough one because like he went 20th overall, but I can't remember reading anything about people doubting the talent. It was all injury red flags and like uncertainty of the injuries. And then you get into, you know, are his agents going to let him go to every team and be checked out and things like that? I'd be very curious to know if the Raptors liked him and it was just the injury red flags. And this is something I should talk to someone about instead of just saying it on air. But he's been nice, man. Like he's shooting almost 40% from 3.
Yeah. He's the guy where there's always that one thing where it's like a guy slides. Like I think OG is an example of that. I think the infamous one that's coming up for me is like the year that the Raptors took Pascal 27th. It was like, oh my God, Deontay Davis slid and like Skal Labissiere slid. Like, how do you not take those guys? And it's like, yeah, actually they knew what they were doing, and clearly Pascal was the best pick there. Arguably the best pick in that whole draft. But like I remember with Cam, it was like, will the Rockets even draft him, even consider him at 4? You know, there was even some of those, like Woj was even saying that potentially leading up to the draft. And then, yeah, unfortunately he had the back injury and he slid. But, yeah. By the way, I don't know if Gerald Green's going to join us.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We teased Gerald Green for 2 segments. But it did give us a good reason to dunk or talk about dunks, which is cool.
We've got 8 minutes left in the segment, and we have to break on time because Dennis is on the other side. So I'm going to say we're not getting Gerald Green at this. And if we do, it's going to be like, all right, man, what's your favorite dunk? Okay, see ya. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I like Gerald Green.
Okay, can we highlight the point where at what point did the dunk contest lose its like luster? Because
For me,
again,
never.
Okay, I hear you. I'm also a dunk contest nerd. I will 100% be watching that dunk contest this year. But again, I was just going over the tape in 2007 preparing for this Gerald Green interview that didn't happen. But like 2007, I'm looking at the dunk contest. The 5 judges judging the dunks: Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Dr. J, Dominique Wilkins.
That's sick.
That's absolutely amazing. I was going to ask him if you remember the 5 judges, but like, I mean, I guess they've always had like high cachet for in terms of who's like judging the dunk contest, stuff like that. But like, I don't know. It was like a perfect like blend of guys like wearing like their time specific fashion, you know, like NBA players with like they had like Al Horford in like a pea coat. On the sideline, and he was looking mad young, and then I just like it as a time capsule each time. But there was such an energy about it, and I just feel like that energy is not there anymore. Like there's so many dunk contests in the last 5 years where I don't have very memories of them at all, funny or good, you know.
So I think it's ebbed and flowed. So I don't think it's ever like fallen off for too long. But there are 2 points where I think it had a tough time, and I think the first was when they did Dwight Howard and Nate Robinson like years in a row. And Gerald Green's is mixed in there as well. But like it got to be a little much with the Nate Rob and Dwight Howard and how many props came in that era and stuff like that. But where I really think they misstepped trying to get it back. So 2012, the criticism was, well, like nobody's really that interesting. So the 2012 one was Jeremy Evans, Chase Budinger, Paul George, and Derek Williams.
Okay.
So you don't really care about any of those guys except for Paul George, and Derek Williams is like, I mean, he was bouncy. Chase Budinger was bouncy, but Jeremy Evans won that one. That was also the year they tried to do it via Twitter. voting.
Yeah, see, they're doing too much with the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Every time. Just
And
get
then-
the best dunkers in the contest. Focus on that.
So that was one of the ways they tried to correct it. Was like, oh, we're going to do Twitter. We're going to do fan texting. And I can get there with that. They expanded the event for 2013. That was the T-Ross year. I'm like, okay, maybe if you get more guys in, it moves a little quicker. Every dunk seems more important because you're not doing, this way. But where I think they really lost it was when they did the team style one.
Oh, yeah.
So like in 2014, technically, Terrence Ross has won 2 dunk contests.
Yes.
One as an individual and one as a team. And then John Wall was just voted like coolest dunker of the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one was a team dunk. It was him, I think John Wall, and then I think Paul George might have been in that one as well.
Against Dame, Harrison Barnes, and Ben McLemore.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think the other issue is, so everyone remembers 2016 in Toronto, right? All-time, all-star weekend. Zach LaVine versus Aaron Gordon. Incredible. Zach LaVine defends his title, which, by the way, 2015 Zach LaVine dunk contest, very slept on. That one was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's him and Depot, right?
Yeah, I was watching with my friend, and we had a lot of substances, and I was just amazed. Like I literally was in like a stupor for like the next 20 minutes after seeing that first time.
Trying to imagine your waves of emotions where it's like, okay, here is Victor Oladipo and some cool dunks, and you're like, whoa. And then it's like Zach LaVine and some cool dunks. You're like, whoa. And then like Giannis didn't have cool dunks, but he comes out, and just like the idea of Giannis, you're like, whoa. And then a Plumlee brother comes out.
Yeah, that was part of the hallucination.
And you're like,
the Plumlee brother.
Yeah,
in the dunk contest.
like I gotta get lucid here. This is
I
too
remember
much.
the
A
exact-
Plumlee brother in the dunk contest.
I'm like, what's Blake Murphy doing there? The one part that I remember, like, is the one where Zach LaVine bounced it and then put it behind his back and then back through and around with the other hand. I think J.R. Smith did that dunk once before as well, but took him
But
many
not the
attempts.
bounce, right?
I don't think
he
not
just
the bounce.
went.
Yeah. And it's like a 360 element involved in it. I think he hit it first time and it was so smooth, and I'm like, dude, this is the most athletic thing and the most graceful and athletic thing I've seen from anybody. And that's why I was tripping out. But then afterwards, this is the issue with the dunk contest. The dunk contest winners after this point, I don't know if you have them pulled up. You do?
I do.
Okay.
Most of them are on my like G League All-Star team this year.
Glenn Robinson III. All right, speaking of big dog, little dog, Glenn Robinson III. Donovan Mitchell, which like I remember he pulled out a Vince jersey, like, you know.
That was a fun one. Him and Larry Nance and Depot were all in that one, right?
That one was solid. That one was solid. Didn't all the people do like a 540 or something like that?
And he sang.
See, again, they're doing too much of the dunk contest. Yeah, he came out with like a Neo outfit with like the fedora and everything. Yeah, I remember that one. Hamidou Diallo, which like, he was a good dunker, but like, I don't know, man. It's forgettable. I don't remember anything from that dunk contest. Derrick Jones Jr., airplane mode.
Yeah.
All right.
Good nickname.
A great nickname. Yeah, for sure. And then Anthony Simons, which I don't remember that dunk contest at all.
Yeah, but that was like
what happened to Anthony Simons
that
winning
was
the
like
dunk contest
COVID
in
All-Star,
Atlanta?
right?
That was COVID All-Star. I think. Was that the one where John Collins kicked the plane? That's one of my favorite moments.
That was a couple years prior. That was the Hamidou Diallo one.
Okay, yeah.
The Anthony Simons one was just him, Obi Toppin, and Cassius Stanley. Like
Again,
it was only
what are
three
we
guys.
What are we
It was
doing here, man?
only 3 guys. I mean, I guess technically they did 2 rounds, but like, yeah.
And then Obi Toppin won in Cleveland 2020.
Yeah,
you remember that one?
No.
That was only 2 years ago. No
Yeah.
one remembers that one.
Juan Toscano Anderson.
Yeah, what are we doing, man?
So
what are we doing?
I actually think last year's was pretty good. Like I thought Mac McClung and Trey Murphy were both
last year
good.
was pretty good. That's pretty good.
I think part of the issue, I'm a G League guy. I love these fringe roster guys.
Yeah.
But I do think part of the problem is that like we just looked at the last couple and like Cassius Stanley, Jericho Sims, Kenyon Martin Jr., Mac McClung, Pat Connaughton. Like you gotta have a little name value here.
Yeah.
But it's also the counter to that is like this is how a lot of guys made their names and got popular in the first place.
That's true.
So you got to leave some opportunity. I'm always torn on it. I guess where I land is I want a bigger field so you can do both. You can have the name
I
value
do like
guys
the
and
bigger
the
fields
upper
back in the day.
yeah.
Like when Vince won it, there was like 6 or 7 dunkers. Yeah, 8 dunkers. Also bring back the big man in the dunk contest. I love
there was
those
6.
guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to take another break. I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network, brought to you by Campbell's new Chunky Spicy Soup. Welcome back to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wayne Blue, joined by dunk contest enthusiast Blake Murphy.
That's right.
And we are going to get Dennis Schröder on the line shortly. This one will happen, all right?
He's there.
Dennis is our guy.
Yeah.
Dennis is our guy. He will get us. But yeah, the Raptors are on quite a long road trip. We won't see them until next week.
Post deadline.
Post deadline. That's right. Yeah, the Raptors will be back at Scotiabank Arena on Friday, February 9th. That's also Fred VanVleet's return to Toronto. And then, the deadline will be 8th. By the way, we're going to be on from 1 to 4.
On the deadline, yeah.
On the deadline.
Yeah, sorry about
that. You ready
that.
for 3 hours of tap dancing and maybe potentially Bruce Brown getting dealt, or what, man?
I hope you're okay with that, because they asked me. They were like, what do you think? And I'm like, it's the trade deadline, man. As long as we're allowed to talk about non-Raptors stuff, as long as we can do all the NBA stuff. Last year, there were 15 trades in trade deadline week. Mm-hmm. So, even if my hope is that it feels like when we worked at the Score together and we're in the war room and just have a giant somehow we slide a giant whiteboard in here and it's just me trying to figure out all the 4-team trades like I'm in Bobby Marks's Zoom shot. So that's a hope.
Well, one guy who doesn't want to talk about the trade deadline, and we're not going to ask him about this because he already said he doesn't want to talk about it, is Dennis Schröder joining us on the road. Dennis, where you at, man?
Hi. What's up, guys? Getting a massage right now.
Oh, wow.
Yo, dude, you called us from the weirdest places, man. The team bus.
I know.
The lobby of a hotel, the shoot at Puma twice, I think. You called us from Puma. And now you get a massage. Who's giving the massage?
So I gotta get my body right. So we got a good or important game tomorrow. So I gotta get ready.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys are on this road trip, right? You guys in Houston, going to OKC over the weekend, going to New Orleans, then going to Charlotte, and then finally coming home to Toronto. And on the subject of road trip, I never asked you, but what are your top 5 road cities in the NBA?
Top 5 world cities: Phoenix.
I don't know.
Miami.
Just go over there.
Toronto when I didn't play here.
Area.
Back in the day, I loved San Francisco, but it's not in my top 5 no more. LA and Atlanta.
Why I can guess some things about some of those places, and obviously there are some of those places that everyone knows are good road cities. Why Phoenix at the top? What do you love about Phoenix?
It's hot. First of all, always when we go to Phoenix, I take wifey with me, family with me. We had spent the time there this past summer, and it was great. So. That's probably the reason why.
Got you.
What is going on there? We got emoji bubbles popping up on the screen.
Where?
Oh, nothing. Just a thumbs down emoji popped up on the screen.
No, it's okay. We got to roll with
really?
it.
Yeah.
Yo, so one thing
Who
with
did that? Me? No,
I don't know.
Do that.
Yeah, maybe it was on our end. Our bad if that's the case. So one thing everyone talks about is when you guys get on the road, you guys get to hang out a lot more together, right? Because when you're at home, everyone's got their own commitments. You got family, friends, whatever. When you're on the road, you have to spend more time with your teammates. So I wanted to know if you've learned some new things about some of your newer teammates. And I wanted to know things that are off the court. Because honestly, a lot of these guys, we need to get to know them better ourselves. So I want to ask you one thing you've learned off the court about some of these new players. Jordan Nwora, we'll start with him because he's been balling recently.
Yeah, he's been balling. He's getting a massage right now too, getting ready.
That's
he's
a
right
great
next
fact.
to me.
Put him on. Let him make his show debut.
It's another guy who plays Boué.
Okay.
Nice.
Card game.
Nice.
So we got another guy on the plane who plays. Bruce is another guy who played Boué. He played cards. Came to the room as well. And played. I think it's a good team chemistry thing when everybody, gets together. We talk about basketball, watch the games, play cards, and I'm taking their money. I think as always, I'm playing. I think it's always great to, just come and spend time together. When you always on the road, and we get to see each other more than our families most of the time, and we might as well, make the best out of it, be together and spend time together.
What about Quickly and RJ, man? I feel like they've been on the team for a while now, but it's just because there's been so many changes. But they've only been here like a month. What have you learned about those guys?
I mean, both of them told me the first day that they playing Boue, but I didn't see him on the table
Okay.
yet.
All
So
right.
that's the first thing. But I mean, high character guys, working hard. Both of them is 20. I mean, they 23 years old. You know, big upside. And off the court, I mean, off the court, I didn't really. We went to dinner last night with the whole organization, but I can't say too much about them.
Yeah, we'll find out more. How was dinner though? How was dinner? So you said the whole organization's out there, like front office,
Yeah,
coaches,
that
everybody.
was pretty. Yeah, everybody was there. Doc always do those dinners where he, invites everybody, and everybody showed up, had a great time, ate, talked about life, and yeah, went back to the room.
Nice, nice.
Okay, Dennis, I want to pivot off of you guys. I want to ask you about something you shared on your Instagram story yesterday. So there was a great feature at Yahoo Sports from our friend Jake Fisher about Tony Snell and how Tony's trying to get back in the league to make sure, get back in the league soon enough that he gets those 10 years, kind of the premium benefits that you guys get when you retire. You shared a couple things about that. So just kind of open the floor for you. Why did that story resonate with you? And why did you want to share kind of Tony's path back here to the NBA?
I mean, basketball is one thing. I mean, for me, basketball is not, my priority. My priority is my family, my kids, my wife, my mom, everybody, who I've been around with over the last, 30 years. And I think that his family, and he said it too in a comment, that he wanted to make sure he gets, the benefits for his kids and for his wife. And I think that is, as an NBA family, how we always call it, I think we should, make sure that we take care of them. Don't matter how we do it or how we get it done. I think it's just right for him and his family, to get that kind of service. And I think he done a lot for the league as well. I mean, 9 years in the league is not, it's above the average. And at the end of the day, he always was, a great dude, great teammate. All I heard from his teammates and who I played with talked about him always on a positive note. So I hope he get that contract. I hope, the NBA can work something out that they be able to give him that, contract. So the benefits for his family and himself.
Dennis, that's obviously something, at a high level, the NBA and the Players Association sit down with. I know Garrett's kind of the main guy on the Raptors when it comes to the Players Association stuff, but do you ever get involved in those kind of conversations? Like how much do you, get in on those meetings, those conversations at the Players Union level?
I mean, we got Garrett now. Garrett, he's one of the head guys there, and he got great relationships. And he tried to reach out to a lot of people as well this morning, and had a couple of calls this morning as well. So I talked to him about it because I seen it on my Instagram, shared it with him. We talked about it, and he said he's gonna do everything he can, in his power, to make sure that happens. And I think, I mean, it's everybody, every player who's in in the organization or in the NBA wants him to get that contract. I don't think it's nobody there who says, "Oh no, he didn't deserve it." So hopefully, it's gonna work out.
Yeah. One question about Garrett Temple. So when you
Yeah.
guys, because you guys probably meet for like breakfast meetings, like before games, stuff like that, watch film. Like, how often is he in that suit, man?
Uh, he always got that suit on, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he's always clean. But I mean, for the breakfast meetings, he always got Raptors gear on.
Okay. All right.
But I mean, for games, like you always see, he's always sharp.
Yeah, he is always sharp, man. Because I think at some point in the last like 5-6 years, they stopped letting the coaches wear suits, right? They everyone is just now in like the little zip ups or whatever.
They didn't stop letting them. They just said they didn't have to anymore. So like
Sure,
Darko
yeah.
could show up in a suit if he wanted to.
I would love to see that. Darko should show up in that suit more often. But no, when you see Garrett Temple on the sideline, you're like, damn, he dressed better than the coaches. You know? He's sharp, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody have to. They just gotta be dressed up all together. I think so. I
Okay.
mean, for them, it's
All
always easier to have a zipper on and just go out there. They're working out before the games, and I mean, it's not up to me. So
Yeah, I hear you.
Dennis, a bit of an aside here, not really related to anything, but Marc Gasol announced his retirement the other day. I know you got to play with Marc in his last season with the Lakers. He obviously meant a lot to the franchise in Toronto, winning a championship with them. Do you have any, happy memories of playing with Marc, or just your opinion of him as a player as he kind of says goodbye here?
yes, a lot of backdoor layups for me when I was with him and with the Lakers. Great guy, great family. Good to meet his family or him. Played against him a couple of times. European championships where he hit 6, 7 threes, and we got eliminated. Hell of a career. But I mean, he's a really great guy, well respected in this league, and as a human being. And I mean, I wish him nothing, nothing bad. I want him to, even with his team, he got his own team in Spain as well. I hope they're doing good, and I hope he's going to enjoy, retirement.
Yeah, I was gonna say the video for Marc Gasol, he put together like a goodbye video and stuff like that, and just seeing
Insane.
that was beautiful to see, man. That's like a storybook kind of thing.
Insane.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that was tough.
Well, one day, like when you hang it up or whatever, like I'm sure you're gonna want to do a similar legacy. I know you already own the team, right? From back home.
Yeah, I gotta check his video out again, take some tips, and then redo it.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing
Kind of similar.
One thing that was cool was he mentioned like he wants to get back to the kids, right? And like part of his initiative right now with owning the team is he also wants to own the school that comes with the team. So I want to ask you, like, you came up in that European system, right? Like it's not just you are going to AAU, like you go to an academy and, with the club and it's like a whole education standpoint. So can you just walk us through like, essentially like how prospects come up from Europe?
I mean, it's two different things. If you go to the academy, I mean, we got 2 of them in Germany. I mean, there's like a basketball school, and you make sure before school you go to, practice, go to school, do your classes, and then you go back to basketball practice again. It's similar, I think, to college. But me, I just went to a normal school, from 8 to like 3:45. In my hometown, and then had practice at like 4:30. And I had 2-3 different, teams I played for, so I had to practice with them. So I was like gone from like 4:30 to like 10:30 p.m.
Damn.
Was working out and play with the different teams and practicing with them. So that was kind of my route of, getting to the NBA. You play 2-3 times a week. On the weekends, I would say on the weekends only. So I had to manage every time. Sometimes it was like a couple of games at home, and then I had to like take the train to, a away game. So it was a lot going on, but I mean, it got me where I am today.
That's a lot of dedication, especially for a young player. And of course, it takes a lot to make it as a pro at any level. And obviously, you made it to the highest level. Like, when did you make that decision in your life to like take it that seriously? You know what I mean? Because you have to commit yourself so much to it at a very young age. So I wonder what age that was for you.
I mean, I started, skateboarding with a young age. I think I was like 7, 8. Skateboarded. Did table tennis, ping pong, soccer. And when I was 13, 14, I kind of got a little bit more into, basketball, and kind of liked it, went to practice every single day. And then my dad, passed away when I was 15. A week before, I talked to him, and kind of like made him a promise that one day I'll be a pro and be in the league and take care of my family, because he always wanted to take care of the family. And so that's the reason here today. The motivation drove me every single day to go to practice, to get better, and to this day, it's still the same.
Damn. Well, I mean, that's very powerful motivation. I think Pascal Siakam, for example, spoke something very similarly of his journey. And yeah, I guess I'm just wondering from you, like, what was the biggest thing you learned from your dad, before, the time was up?
To be the best human being you can be. To the nobody, it don't matter who the person is who tells you something, that you overcome it. It don't matter. Hard work, always pays off. And I think for him to not be here no more, to not see this, I mean, that was my motivation, just to, I mean, he's still here, and still sees what we're doing as a family, and how I am as a dad and as a player. But every single day, just to give everything I have, even if it's on the court, off the court, being a better, human being as a whole. That's what I'm, focusing on, and I try to, be better every single day.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned this a couple of times before, but like, what was it like growing up in Germany? Like how did your family get to Germany? Was because I know for me, I got so many memories of immigrating to Canada when I came from China, like as a child, and I remember like so much from back in the day. So I wanted to ask about your story about how you got to Germany in the first place.
I mean, Germany. Me and my two little siblings. We were born and raised in Germany,
Okay,
but
born and raised, yeah.
my two biggest siblings. I mean, my brother and my sister. They born in Gambia, and then got to Germany when they was, my brother 5 and my sister 8, and they went to school right away, didn't speak no word, not one word German. And to see, them now to be successful and to be well respected in Germany, and doing a lot of stuff for our city now in Braunschweig, where I born and raised at, is I mean, the best thing, what could happen to us. And me just growing up, of course, being black was sometimes an issue, but I think it made me who I am now, made me stronger. Always appreciate everything, over my career, what happened to me. So I think it's just a part of my, the legacy and the career I was going to, and it made me stronger. And I'm really, grateful for all the stuff what happened to me. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
that's obviously something that has resonated with fans of yours as well. Obviously, people come to you because they're fans of your basketball game, your success with the World Cup, but lots of guys have success on the basketball court. When you see something like you being a top 10 jersey sales in all of Europe so far this season, you see something like that, how much does that tell you that you're on the right track to, your dad's word of being the best person you can, using this opportunity to connect with people and make a difference? When you see yourself on a top 10 list like that, what does that mean to you?
I mean, that's insane. I didn't even know about it. People was tagging me last night, and I was like, is that just Germany? Or, like, I wasn't really sure. And, that's pretty cool. I mean, all the, the stuff, the hard work, even off the court, what we're doing, with the YouTube videos, and my video creator who doing a lot of stuff for me, off the court, paying off. Of course, the World Cup helped really, I mean, extremely to the fullest. But I think overall, the last 10 years, we done a great job of, making sure we signing every single, guy, the fans who waiting outside of the hotel, always taking my time to, make sure I sign and take pictures. And I think that comes a long way as well. and but that's what I'm saying. Always try to be, the best person I can be, and it paid off for sure.
Yeah. All right, Dennis. Want to let you get back to the massage. All right, we appreciate your time. It was great to walk through your past, and honestly, something tells me I'm going to ask you some more questions about it in the future. But I appreciate your time, and good luck tomorrow.
I appreciate you guys.
All right, Dennis Schröder. There you go. Playboy German Man of the Year.
Yeah. And number 8 in jersey sales in Europe,
Across
I
Europe,
think.
that's pretty impressive. Like, look at the amount of European players right now. Like, it's to be top 10 is it's incredibly impressive. But I knew a little bit about Dennis's his background, just in terms of his growing up and stuff like that. But just to hear from him in that moment and hear his experiences was really cool. Like, again, like what we talked about yesterday with Katie, like we focused a lot on the games, and I think this one for us there wasn't that much to talk about. Like, give me some thoughts about what happened in Atlanta, or give me some thoughts about what happened in Chicago. Like, it's not as interesting, I think, to me, and I think that for this one, just getting to talk to him about his upbringing was really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously a tough path, right, that he's gone through, and I think those are the kind of stories that obviously, you make it to the NBA, you're going to have part of your story that resonates with anyone, but those difficult ones, resonate with people a little bit more, and it's part of why I think people care about sports so much, is you can find, even if you can't hoop like Dennis Schröder, you can find something in his story about persevering, about dealing with adversity, about how to take something bad that happened to you and use that to make you a better person, and things like that is why sports they're important to us for a lot of reasons, but I think that a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, get that kind of element out of it as well. The other thing I wanted to ask is, I'm pretty sure the person giving him a massage was recently a Blue Jays massage therapist, and I didn't want to put her on the spot or ask to get her in the frame. But I was like, because obviously we know we see the Raptors massage therapist a bunch, and I think it was someone who was recently with the Blue Jays. When we could see her, I was like, trying to scope out. Man, okay,
what's up?
Dennis has joined us from so many different spots now. What's left? Do you think we could get him live while he's getting shots up? That's I think that might be the only thing left now.
That'd be amazing.
Ice bath.
That'd be amazing. Well, I mean, we could just do that at the Raptors facility.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because lots of times we're down there at practice, and he's just getting shots up at the hoop right by the media, not the media's hoop. To be clear.
Oh, that's y'all's hoop, as Garrett Temple would never let me forget.
Not Garrett.
I didn't realize this was y'all's hoop.
We could shoot for it, and I will lose badly, to be clear.
You would lose really badly.
I would lose so badly.
Do you know, at this point, with how many years Garrett Temple has in the league, with what skill set got him to the NBA, and how much of his time is just, getting shots up because he's not playing that much,
By the way, that's my summer routine. I shoot 2 hours a day in the summer, but I hear you.
You don't have 25 years of NBA
this is
experience
the
doing
stupidest
that.
hill for me to try to be on. Man.
I just mean that
I'm falling off this hill.
In a just shooter, around the world scenario kind of thing.
Nah, man, I'm getting washed.
There got to be few people as good as Garrett Temple at this stage. Obviously there are more natural shooters, or better shooters, but a big chunk of his day is just I'm gonna get shots up by myself, stationary.
Yeah.
He really is
a life,
Winter Will Lou.
You just walk around, you get massages, you put on a suit, you shoot some basketballs, and then you just go back and you do it again and take a NBPA call once in a while. Sounds fun.
Yeah, you try to get Tony Snell. A 10-day doesn't get him the service time, but you trying to help Tony Snell out.
I should have worked harder on hooping as a kid. What was I doing with my time?
Yeah, and at least in my case, I could be I'm 5'10". I was never making it anyway. You got height.
Yeah, I'm not going to reference Terry Rozier's infamous tweet, but,
he tall as hell.
No, the issue is I feel like I got a negative wingspan, or I got a Desmond Bain,
your wingspan's shorter than your height?
No, my wingspan is not long, even though I'm 6'2". I feel like my wingspan is probably 6 feet.
We might have the same wingspan.
You got a long wingspan? You have plus wingspan?
Not crazy, but I've got a +2. You measure it in plus and minus inches. I have.
You know what?
I'm 5'10". I have a 6 foot wingspan.
Oh wow! You know when you do that, it's like the MJ poster.
Yeah, exactly. But if it was shrunk down to the size of a hockey card, no, I'm not a tall or long man. You've played basketball with me. You know that those are not the skills that I'm utilizing on the court.
A fun fact for Blake Murphy: size 13 shoes.
Yeah.
When I went to your house way back in the day, when I used to go to your house sometimes to record Raptors Weekly Extra.
Yeah, after your soccer game at Lamport Stadium.
I would literally bring my gym bag with like stinking clothing. Ideally, I record before the game, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes, whatever, it happens after the match. So I got to come over with the cleats. Hopefully, I would like bang them so that I'm not bringing all the little pieces of turf into your house. And then we would like record in your room on one microphone, I feel like, by the way. We'd have to
we
like
just kind of have lean
like
back
bob
and
and
forth.
weave,
Yeah.
to make sure we're hitting at the right spot in the Yeti microphone. And your rack of shoes was also like kind of close to the like your desk setup.
Yeah.
Not to expose your whole thing. This is not how you live now.
It's
Don't
all
worry.
it's not where I live now, but I
He's
don't know.
leveled up. Don't worry.
When you were
Folks, he's leveled up.
when you were a freelance sports media person,
Yes.
just going out on your own for the first time,
Yeah.
you do not live in nice places in the city of Toronto.
Yeah. Well, and then I was looking at the shoes and I was like, bro, whose shoes are these, man? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Crazy. The
you
wildest
wouldn't expect
part.
it, that's all.
Yeah, you wouldn't. There are weird things about my proportions, but the craziest thing was like you occasionally find NBA players who have like small feet. So like,
Oh yeah.
how tall was Alfonso McKinney? Like 6'8", 6'9"?
6'7" at least.
Yeah, so he's listed at 6'7".
Okay. Yeah.
We have the same size feet.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were gonna be like, yo, he's got size 10.
No, I was like obviously Alfonso McKinney is not the right guy to be like, hey man, you've got so many. Can you give me some shoes? Like I actually once witnessed CJ Miles giving Alfonso McKinney like his hand-me-down shoes because like,
Oh, word.
well, you don't have the same shoe hookup if you're like a 10, like a guy just
I
called
hear
up
you.
or you're end of the roster guy.
Sure.
Whereas like even a CJ Miles type has like, I don't know, like 40 pairs for the season or something like that. Anyway, I was just trying to get some shoes. I don't have it. The only pair of shoes I have, and this was a gift from a reader and listener one time, is apparently a game-worn signed pair of Jose Calderon shoes.
Oh,
Yeah.
what was he? Adidas?
And one, I want to say.
And one.
Yeah, I gotta
Whoa.
yeah, I gotta look up.
Whoa. I don't know how many and ones Jose Calderon's ever gotten it, but we're getting the note from
Actually, you know
Ahmed
what?
Wan.
They might have been Li Ning.
Oh, Lee Nings.
I'm trying to picture them now.
He got a Lee Ning deal after what the Spanish national team did as in the team photo. Don't look it up. Okay, we're gonna take another break.
We're never getting Marcus on the show now.
It's okay, Mark. I'll forgive you if you come on the show. I'm your host, Will Lou. You've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network, brought to you by Campbell's new Chunky Spicy Soup. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Lou. End of a long, eventful day. We're in segment 4. And we're going to bring in Seerat Sohi from The Ringer. Seerat, yeah, I'm happy you have a normal background. We just had Dennis Schröder on the show, and he called us from the massage table, live from the massage table. So, yeah, I don't know. How's your afternoon going is my question.
I wish I was calling you live from the massage table. Maybe next week. My day is good. It definitely isn't as good as Dennis's, though. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're all right. Will's casting judgment a little bit on Dennis Schröder being in a massage table. When OG Anunoby got traded, it was December 30th, and Will was in Montreal and was like, I called Will because like I'm about to do an emergency show, and obviously I want Will on, so I call, and he doesn't even answer, and then he calls me back after. He's like, I felt bad not answering. I'm about to get this massage and this pedicure in and stuff. Dennis
It's
Schröder's
about work-life balance.
Dennis
all right?
Schröder's not the first person to do an episode of this show this year from the massage table.
You know what?
Wow. Maybe Will should be the one wearing the self-care shirt today.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was gonna say that was a nice sweater or a nice shirt that he's got on.
Nice.
It matches your tattoos really well, too.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
We got to do an episode where
I gotta
Blake
start-
explains all his tats.
We need a longer episode.
That's
Maybe
okay.
the
We
got
3-hour
2 hours,
deadline special. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should wear more than just the color black then, I guess is what the takeaway here is.
You are
Well,
wearing.
I
a black
imagine
shirt.
there's going to be a lot of post-deadline filler for you guys to have to find some segments to do in. So there you go.
We'll be calling you, but not about the Raptors, just about the league in general.
Yeah,
Like today.
and honestly, like we talked to you 2 weeks ago, and it was in the wake of the Pascal Siakam trade, and the topic of conversation was like, okay, what are the Raptors going to look like now? What is the hope around Scotty Barnes and stuff? And you had a great piece at The Ringer that you dropped shortly after that conversation. Here, 2 weeks later, do you feel like we have learned anything? Because everyone's been out injured except for Scotty Barnes in the time since. Like, where I guess maybe you have takeaways on Scotty individually, but it really seems like we got teased that, hey, this is what the future is going to look like. This is how we're going to develop from here. And we haven't really got much of a look at it.
I personally was really enjoying Jontay Porter watch.
Nice.
I'm sad.
Nice. Another man
I'm
who wears
sad
black
that's
tees a lot.
momentarily over. What's that?
Another man who wears black tees to work a lot.
Yeah.
He's got the undershirt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a little bit just when I came on the show that day, just talking about how he could potentially be your 3-and-D shot blocking, floor spacing answer. And since that game, I've only become more confident in him. Like, there's definitely been some up and downs. But there's some good developmental stories out there, right? Like, I was watching the Bulls game yesterday, and maybe one of you guys, since you're actually there, could figure out if there's anything to this. But that those back-to-back plays where Jordan Nwora hit the first it was like the step back three, and then it was the three off of, I think it was a pin down. Right after that, two members of the Raptors coaching staff dapped each other up. So maybe Nwora is like the next great developmental story.
That would be good because we're gonna need more pieces to salvage that Pascal Siakam trade. Like those picks got to be good, and Nwora's got to be good, and we'll got to see what Bruce Brown gets the Raptors back. Bruce Brown, by the way, also playing well. We talked about that on yesterday's show. With the number one Bruce expert, Katie Heindel, of course.
I just like the idea Searat's crafting here that like Ivo Simovic's like whole thing is going to be like, I'm the guy who got Jordan Nwora there. We did it. I came up with the Jordan Nwora playbook.
The Nwora whisperer?
Yeah. I don't know if it was Emo or who it was, but yeah.
That's the Evo. Have you ever talked to Evo? I've never talked to Evo.
I mean, like a friendly hello on the court. That's about it. Speaking of Bruce Brown, I don't want to like run the guy out of town. It feels like we do this every day, but the trade deadline is 1 week away, Searat. So this is the last time we'll talk to you before then. Do you have any favorite landing spots for him if the Raptors were to turn around and deal him to a contender?
For Bruce Brown, pretty much, I mean, anywhere, right? Like that's the beauty of Bruce Brown. We've seen it with the Raptors. Although interestingly, he's had a strange few weeks here, right? And it could go longer than that. But I think we saw, first of all, just comes out of the gate, has an incredible game like the day that he lands, and then struggles and does some really uncharacteristic things, like has bad hands. Bruce Brown does not have bad hands. Like that is like the reason he is in the NBA and is so successful is because he can catch pretty much any pass and finish it right away. We saw him kind of get back to that, but I feel like being on the Raptors has sort of stretched the window of things that he's supposed to be able to do. Like watching him run like an empty side corner pick and roll at the end of the shot clock and shoot a mid-range fadeaway was like, that's not Bruce Brown's game at all. But then seeing him get a few more pick and roll reps has been interesting as well. Seeing him like reject a few pick and rolls, like I was like, okay, all right, like little sleight of hand here. I like it. So I think, there's a number of places that if they already have, their creators in place that don't force him to do that stuff too much, could be really good landing spots for him. I'm curious what you could get back, but I imagine everybody's calling, right? Like I know that's not a unique answer, but if you can potentially contend, I mean, like, the Lakers should be interested. I think Philadelphia should be interested, although, I mean, maybe they can just go get their backup point guard and Kyle Lowry in the buyout market. There's like there's a number of teams. I think Cleveland is a team that should be interested. I think he'd be a really good on fit in Cleveland in particular, because not only could they use a little bit more help at the backup point guard spot ever since, buying out Rubio, they could also just use a little bit more defense on their perimeter as far as like the 2 and 3 and the 4 spot go as well. He could be really good. They're really interchangeable with a lot of the guys, especially now that, Jarrett Allen has become one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA. He can actually space the floor for them a little bit as well. Like he'd have to be situational in certain lineups and in Cleveland and a lot of places. I think he just operates really well in space. But yeah, I mean, if you're a contending team, like this is the guy who can shoot, he can make plays, he's really smart, and he can defend 1 to 4. So, everyone.
We're open for business.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. We're open for business. Even though he did pay $10K for the jersey number, he paid Jontay Porter out for the 11.
Yeah.
For like 2 weeks, maybe.
So,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
and this is, I wonder where you land on this. I guess ethically, Searat. So Bruce Brown broke off $10K for Jontay Porter to give up number 11 when he got here. If Bruce Brown is traded again, is Jontay allowed to go back to number 11 and just pocket the $10K? Like is there like a proration of the amount that Bruce Brown paid if Jontay goes back to the number? How we handling this?
Ooh, an ethical quandary. I love it. It doesn't hurt anybody for him to go back to 11. Like, why not? Right? Like, yeah. Yeah, I think he should absolutely. I don't think there's anybody that would be mad about that. You know, as far as Bruce Brown goes, like he can go get number 11 on his next team. It might be costly for him, but you know, like this is a guy he knew he could potentially be moving, and the guy makes a ton of money. Maybe he already factored that into his calculation.
Yeah, what's 10 grand to a guy making 22 million?
That's fair.
That's like if
it's a lot more to Jontay Porter, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I love Jontay. First of all, my takeaways from Jontay from watching him for a month now is don't think he's gotten a haircut in the whole month. Okay. Right. Wears a t-shirt when he hoops. Doesn't try to make any flashy plays. This guy is the most pure hooper in the league. He's just focused on hoop and nothing else.
You talk about guys that don't leave the gym. He literally
no.
He's got a closet of 8 plain white t-shirts in his locker.
I love Jontay, man. There's no nonsense, man. I've never seen an NBA player who doesn't get haircuts, man.
I'd also looked into what if the Raptors acquired. So Jontay moved from number 11 to number 34. Yeah. What if they acquire someone who wears number 34 and he gets broken off another piece to change his jersey number? But there aren't that many. The only ones in the league are Jontay, Giannis, Jabari Walker in Portland, who's probably not going anywhere, Kenrich Williams in OKC, and Wendell Carter Jr. is the only guy who we've heard any sort of maybe he'd move.
No, this guy putting Wendell Carter Jr.
You're such a sicko.
Yeah,
you are such a sicko. I'm just trying. Honestly,
this is pro labor. I see Jontay Porter on a 2-way salary. I'm trying to get him another 10 grand.
You know what? That's right. All right.
You're right. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who would have had the idea. I just don't think that. I feel like you got a spreadsheet for everything, man. And I just really respect that.
Yeah, I didn't in this case. This is just looking up jersey numbers, but I do have a spreadsheet for most things.
I just divided my.
Do you have any other Jontay Porter spreadsheets that you can share with us? Or have you gone to the Jordan Nwora portion of this yet? Have you done any spreadsheets on him? Who, by the way, looks really big, bigger than I thought he was. He looks Scotty Barnes sized when he's on the floor.
Do you? I don't have. I mean, I have he pops up in the odd G League sheet because he played down there, but I have nothing special on Nwora. But what do you think of Jordan Nwora as a player? Because we've seen a bunch of him with Milwaukee and Indiana over the years, and it seems like he's shown more in the last 2 or 3 games with Toronto than he's gotten to show other spots. But it's not for lack of opportunity. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think frankly, I need to watch more of him. Mm-hmm. He's somebody that I haven't done the deep dive on Jordan Nwora, but what I've seen with the Raptors has been really interesting. He's a little bit all over the place, right? He's incredible. First of all, he's 6'8", athletic, can kind of shoot. So he's a Raptors guy at the end of the day, right? He fits the type. He's chaotic in some ways. Some of the things that he does on defense, I'm like, okay, that's a little in a way that I think Scotty Barnes can be sometimes too, where he wants to be a little bit everywhere all at once. It can get a little bit messy, but there's also a ton of potential there too. He can cover a lot of space. He's got, I think there's more to siphon out of Jordan Nwora that I wouldn't have expected after watching a few games of him.
Yeah, I think if he keeps up what he's currently doing, that'd be amazing. But I mean, if he just can be a backup in the rotation in the next year, you've already done something pretty good. I think we've hit all our Raptor topics, man.
Yeah,
there are no more. Yeah, there are no more Raptors topics.
Yeah,
here.
It's Sixers. I guess the only Raptors adjacent thing is that Seerat, you mentioned Kyle potentially landing on Philly. If Kyle's bought out,
no.
Okay, so I'm going to make the case to you here.
Saying no.
I assumed that that's what was going to happen when he got traded to the Hornets, if the Hornets don't move him again by next Thursday. But I'll tell you my favorite landing spot for him and see if I sell you on it. I want Kyle on the Knicks on the buyout market.
I like that
They could use him. The biggest thing for me is I'm already kind of rooting for the Knicks because OG's there and because the Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Villanova stuff is really fun. Kyle's a Villanova guy. Yeah. Kyle and Tibbs seem like spiritually they'd have something there. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about Kyle to the Knicks versus Kyle to the Sixers? Or is there another place that I'm not even thinking of?
The Knicks were actually my second choice for him because the reason that you mentioned. But I also look at the Knicks and I'm like, you already don't really have enough minutes for Quentin Grimes and Miles McBride, who I think should just get more run. I love him as a spiritual, tactical fit there. He's from Philadelphia, but New York is basically Philadelphia. They're not very far from each other at all. I think it would be less painful for Raptors fans for a number of reasons. Yeah. But at the same time, the Philly fit for him personally is just too good. You've got the Nick Nurse connection. You've got the fact that like he is a Philly native and owns it, and Villanova close by, right? And they need a backup point guard, and they're the closest team that can actually get him within the new CBA rules that can actually contend for a championship at the same time. So I'm sorry, Will, and I'm sorry to basically everybody listening, but I'm rooting hard for Kyle Lowry to the Sixers. It just makes too much sense. And yes, we can talk about the Indianas and Clevelands of the world, but what are we doing? It's those two teams, and it's probably Philly.
Yeah, I think there should be a new rule added to the CBA where Patrick Beverley and Kyle Lowry should not be allowed to be on the same team. Imagine they're on the floor on the same time for the same team. Both these guys trying to take charges. Both these guys arguing to the ref. Both these guys passing up shots because they don't want to shoot. Like, it'd just be too much.
And Nick Nurse on the sideline screaming in support of both of them, challenging plays when he doesn't have challenges left.
No. The NBA is about an entertainment product. On the topic of the Sixers, okay, so Embiid, this is the big topic for this week because didn't play against Jokic. All the talk, he maybe ducked Jokic, maybe he didn't. But it seemed like he was actually injured. Didn't play in that one, didn't play in the next game. Ends up trying to play in Golden State. Honestly, I feel like there was a time where we really committed guys were trying to play through injury or at least like toughing it out. He fully was not like ready to play and was like hobbled throughout that game. And then they're down big in the fourth quarter. And on a loose ball, Kuminga accidentally falls into his leg. And now we still don't fully know how long he's going to be out for. Hopefully it's nothing serious. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is like the 65-game minimum thing, right? Because, it will be really awkward, for example, if we got to the end of the year and we can't vote Joel Embiid for MVP because he only played 62 games. What are your thoughts on that 65-game mark? Is that kind of backfiring on the league for putting that in?
Yeah, and Embiid's not the only one. We're also not going to be able to vote for him for All-NBA. And I'm a big proponent of it's time to just shorten the regular season. And I think that one of the arguments that people make is – it messes up things historically. But let's look at what's going to happen this season with the 65-game requirement. First of all, Joel Embiid, who should either be number 1 or number 2 in the MVP race right now, is probably not going to be eligible to win it. You also have a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who, by the way, tried to rush back from a hamstring injury going in that Sacramento Kings game. That was his debut with Siakam. Didn't look good, re-aggravated that injury, and then missed more time, and now might not make the All-NBA. He's very close to the borderline. And that could cost him $41 million because at the same time, All-NBA is tied to contract incentives. You also have a guy like Lauri Markkanen as well, who is going to go for that Supermax reportedly, right? And he could potentially lose out on money as well because he's missed 10 games this season. If he has another injury this season, he's going to be on that line too. Then beyond that, you just get to what it's going to do to the awards picture, to the MVP picture. Like, it's going to water all this stuff down anyways. And so I just feel like the NBA has been looking for all these answers to the fact that, frankly, I try to look at it like a video game, right? The Spurs beat the game. The Spurs beat the game a decade ago, longer than a decade ago, with load management, with resting players, with, Tim Duncan didn't play more than 30 minutes a game the last 6 years of his career or something. And same with the rest of their big three. And then the rest of the NBA copied that. And you cannot convince people who win things to basically not follow a winning strategy. And like, if in any other game, in any other gameplay scenario, when the players figure out how to beat the game, it's on the people who create the game to update their operating system. The 82-game season worked for a really long time, but it doesn't anymore. And nobody's going to go back to doing things the way that they used to. And I also think that, you look at this in the bigger picture of the NBA with it, like they're negotiating a new rights deal. ESPN, TNT, like these are companies that like I'm curious to see what the deal looks like because ESPN isn't loaded with cash the way that it used to be, and these streaming giants are basically probably going to take over sports in the next little while. And to me, you should be looking at this as an opportunity instead of trying to convince all these people that you're negotiating with that the regular season isn't broken when we can all very clearly see that it is. Like, look to tonight where LeBron James and Anthony Davis are not going to be playing against the Boston freaking Celtics right after a weekend in which they probably they saved Rivals Week with that double overtime game because Joel Embiid didn't play hours within Adam Silver's contract being renewed. You know, like this stuff, like you can't script it any better. The NBA, you know, the script writers are incredible. You know, push has been coming to a shove for a long time here. To me, the in-season tournament also shows you how much the regular season isn't working, ironically, even though it was decided to goose up the regular season. After that, we all kind of were forced to watch these games that just weren't as exciting. The players weren't as excited. The teams that made it to the final, the Lakers and the Pacers, kind of had a drop off after that. The Lakers are still in that stage. And then you even think about the play-in. The play-in, to me, has actually made the regular season even more meaningless because now you can go on a 7-game losing streak and still be within like 2 games of play-in territory as well. Like, I think so many of the things that they've tried to do have backfired because fundamentally they're not willing to try to solve the problem that they should be trying to solve in a time when event sports we've seen are the things that really, really get people's attention. Like this daily stuff, MLB is going through it. The NHL is going through it. There's a reason, like football is obviously king for so many reasons, but one of the reasons is that every game is an event and you get to ruminate. You get to actually think about strategy. Strategy actually matters. Adam Silver wants people to talk about strategy. Nobody cares about strategy. When players say it themselves, how many times have you been in a post-game press conference after a really bad loss and a player will say, you know, the really good thing about the NBA is that you have a game the next day so you can just forget about it. And that's what we all do. It's really good for the players. It's really bad for the leagues because why would we care? Anyway, sorry, I went on a rant here. I said a lot of things, but it's just at this point, it's just getting a little bit ridiculous. Solve the actual problem at hand, and everything will be fine.
Seerat, first of all, don't apologize. It was great. It was. I've been feeling some of the same things, and you obviously articulated better than I could. So don't apologize. And I think, yeah, I agree for the most part that, and the way you put it in terms of event viewing, like the NBA. The NBA goes to the TV networks and sells itself as the inventory league, right? Like you get 82 games and the league is interesting enough that there's something every night and that's the sales pitch. But the way we talk about it culturally, the way we evaluate player success is very much event-based, rings culture and all that stuff. So they're trying to do 2 things. They're trying to sell loads of inventory and convince you that all of that actually matters the same amount. And then everything culturally and discussion-wise is like, but actually the only things that really matter are at the end here. And, you know, the 65 game thing is like in complete contrast to, well, we want everyone as healthy as possible for the playoffs.
Yeah, my only thing with this, I totally agree with all of it, is just until I see any major sporting league cut down on the amount of games that they play or try to put on, this is just the way of the world. They're just always going to ask for more and more, and you're going to try to sell it for more and more, and that's going to require you to put more and more product. And unfortunately, people caught in the middle are the workers.
Yeah.
But we're going to let Seerat go. That was a mic drop moment from you. That was a great discussion. And we will call you probably not about Bruce Brown and the Raptors, but about the rest of the league in a couple of weeks.
Lovely to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that was a fun show today.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about dunk contests. We talked to an NBA player getting a massage.
Talked a weirdly,
try to cut off a quarter of the NBA season because, let's be honest, the NBA season is a quarter too long.
Weirdly, yeah, and in the case of the Raptors after the trade deadline, it's the last quarter. That's too long, not a quarter of each successive thing. We also, like, in every segment somehow took things back to labor politics, which is I'm very much in favor of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we could do more of that as well.
There you go. You got NDP on the court and you got NDP on the podcast. That does it for us today. I've been your host, Willie. You've been listening to The Raptor Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network, brought to you by Campbell's new Chunky Spicy Soup. Thanks to our guests.
Bring your bib tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, we'll see what that means next week or tomorrow, I guess. But thanks to our guests, Dennis Schröder and Seerat Sohi, and we will be back to talk to you tomorrow.